I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on dealing with, or lack of a better term, wife aggro. My wife is not at all the gaming type and doesn't understand what's all about this game that's so appealing. I put my wife first, always, without question. But I've noticed when I talk to other married WoW players that they all have a similar experience with their wife aggro. It seems like no amount of loving service or quality time with the wife can change the fact that any time spent playing WoW is perceived by her as a personal attack. Let's see. Always something to the effect of, quote, "You'd rather play that game than spend time with me," unquote. It seems so silly to me that I should have to choose at all between playing a video game and having a happy wife. I almost read hippie wife. That they needn't be mutually exclusive, right? Right? The answer is right. They don't need to be.
When you ask me right twice in a row, the answer is definitely
it's
right.
It's always right. Two rights make a right. I'm a huge believer that it does not always have to be this way, and it really just this perception that it's bad all over, I think is a misperception, or well, it's a limited perception. I think that it's bad in some places. I have plenty of friends. I have friends who I raid with and hang with who don't have understanding wives, who see this as a genuinely thoughtful passion that you have that deserves your time. That may feel better if you were out golfing with your friends and spending way more money on that than WoW and being twice as addicted to it. I don't know. Then again, I have friends who both golf and play WoW, and they're dealing with it on both ends. I have friends that do both and do just fine because their wife, again, understands that these are two things that they kind of are into and do. If you're already giving priority to this wife of yours and she's still having trouble,
sorry, you're killing me.
That's bothersome.
The way you phrase things tonight is just ridiculous. This wife of yours.
I can't think. This wife of yours, this so-called married spousal partner of yours. I just think that there's give and take on both sides. So like what are the things she wants to do and has to do and likes to do? Like Kim has all kinds of interests that are not connected to our core interests, which is our kids and our family life and our growth as a family and making car payments and house payments and all the things you have to do to kind of make it in life, make sure the kids are getting good grades, all this sort of stuff. Outside of that core and outside of our core relationship, for me, there's, starting this Frog Pants thing, and there's video games, and there's me, wanting to play Call of Duty Black Ops and beat it before my next video game podcast, and there's me wanting to play WoW on Wednesday nights with my raid team, and there's me wanting to do all of those things. She is 100% supportive of all of those efforts because I didn't slack off on the core stuff, and I don't slack off on that. That's first, always. Then this other stuff is second. So that means if raid night has to get canceled because my daughter's got something to perform at the school, of course I'm going to the school. Like, it's not even a question. So if you're already doing that, the part that sounds like might be missing is on this other side. Kim has friends and stuff she loves to hang out with. They go out of town all the time. They love to go shopping. They love to do these things they like to do together. She does stuff with her sisters all the time. That are, some of them are traditions that happen regularly. Some of them are just like, hey, Sarah and I are going to drive to St. George and go to Vegas one day. How are you with the kids over the weekend? Sweet. Awesome. Great. It's the perfect trade. Like, it totally works. I can't be a jerk and say, you can't do all that stuff. You need to be here making my food, woman. Right? And she can't expect me to do nothing but work, and then work some more, and then go to bed, and then work. That I also need to have some of these outlets. So for whatever reason, we landed in the perfect little spot. I know that you and Sam share a very similar situation between each other. So I just feel like if that's missing in your life, which end is it missing on? Is it you not paying attention to the core, or is it her who's just feeling like she's being left out, or maybe you're not letting her have that same freedom to go kind of pursue this stuff she wants to? I know that's all very long-winded, but that's just kind of how I feel.
There's so many issues in this email. You could break it down almost by phrase. My wife is not at all the gaming type. That says to me that you, Jake G, consider yourself the gaming type.
Yep.
And there's a fundamental difference between you and your wife. You have something to overcome there. It's like saying I go to the gym every day and my wife is not at all the workout type. You've got to actually talk about this.
Yep.
Right?
Have a conversation.
There have to be compromises.
Yep.
You can't just one of you be frustrated by the other one being different. And maybe there's some Maybe there's some professional counseling in your future, and it's not a bad thing.
No, yeah,
And
we don't mean that in a negative. It doesn't have a weird connotation to it. That's, maybe that
it's
is
a
what you mean.
fantastic thing
Sure
to
it
say.
is. Sure it is.
Here's this difference between us, and in our case, it's a huge gulf of difference. We're going to go ask a professional to help us bridge that gap. The next phrase, my wife doesn't understand what it is about the game that is so appealing. Well, are you, what are you saying about the person that you've chosen to spend your life with? In this case, are you just saying they're different? Are you saying you think they're stupid? Are you saying that you think that they could find the game appealing if only fill in the blank here? There's so many details to all of this whole mess. You say you put your wife first always without question, but then you turn around and say, it seems like if I spend any time playing WoW, she perceives it as a personal attack.
That doesn't jive.
Yeah, there's a conflict there. If you put your wife first always, then you're kind of saying that your pleasures, the things you appreciate in life are subservient to what your wives are. And that doesn't sound tremendously healthy to me in either direction. Perceiving what you're doing as a personal attack, that's not healthy. That can't be healthy.
No.
Unless unless there's a good reason for it, and it's very hard to suss out what the good reason is when you're in an emotional relationship with the person that you're trying to get to compromise with.
And if you're in there for 10 hours a day, that's a problem, dude. Like that, I could see where she's got an issue. Unless you two, and maybe if there are no kids involved and it's just you two, and you've just got all that kind of time every day. That's one thing, but I'm guessing that's not true because it's not really true of too many people I know that are married or whatever. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Escaping a little bit out of I want to play all day and all night mode is an okay thing. It's a healthy thing. It's good to branch out and do other things. But if you're just asking for the occasional chunk of time on a weeknight or something to raid with your friends, it's not too much to ask, but it's also not too much to ask for you to do your best to help her understand that this is not just some toy. This isn't you not being able to grow up. This isn't, some weird cultural stigma that her parents always taught her that video games were the devil or whatever. There's some communicating that's missing here, and I don't know if that needs to, like we said, happen in the presence of a professional, or if it needs to happen just casually between the two of you, and you slowly work to something that works for both of you. But man, I always hear about this stuff and go, that sucks, because I'm just not having that problem, and I never have.
If there's one message I really want to get across, it's something that Samantha Jane and I have been talking about a lot lately, because we have, like every married couple who are trying to make the most out of life. You got a baby and you're trying to take care of the child and take care of each other and take care of your needs. And WoW fills one of those needs where you want to spend some time being entertained and playing with your friends and so forth. Like everybody else, we're talking about what is the way things are currently the way they're always going to be? And the answer is almost always no.
Yep.
Almost always. And that song from Avenue Q pops into my head. It's only for now. It's only for now. Get it in your head. What you're experiencing is only for now. And approach your spouse with that in mind. Say, honey, we're in conflict here. I want to do this. You want to do that. We have to come to some sort of compromise. That compromise doesn't have to be permanent. It can be, let's have me do this and you do that this week. And let's say I'm going to stop the gambling or the drinking or the golfing or whatever in 3 months and wind it down. And we're going to take that time to, find a counselor and make our lives better and work it out and see what you're doing as temporary. It's when we allow ourselves to get dragged down into the mire of, oh my God, it's never going to get better, that you end up getting divorced because somebody gets so stupid and goes and sleeps with someone else.
Yeah.
And it's just so much better for you to deal with the here and now and to look to the future and make what you're doing in the here and now temporary, so that you can make the changes that you've got to make to get to where you want to be.
Do you think "Meet Me Halfway" is the song?
No, it's not. That's not the song. That whole thing is about people who don't even.
You don't think Kenny Loggins is the answer to our problem?
No, I don't.
I kind of
because what we're talking about can't be simply compromised. You can't say, honey, I want you to go to the spa, and I'm going to work an extra 2 hours each week, and I'm going to give you that money, and you're going to go to the spa while I raid. By the way, I need you to be at the spa for 4 hours on Fridays and 3 hours on Sundays. It's just, no, it's not. The meet me halfway thing is about a totally different sort of broken relationship.
For me, meet me halfway is about how far am I willing to drive to meet somebody for lunch. So we try to find something in the middle.
And don't get me wrong. There is nothing bad about quitting doing whatever it is that is a never going to win situation.
Yeah.
If you really truly have established that you will never win in this relationship doing what you're doing, you don't have a choice but to quit doing it.
Yep.
Sorry.
Well said. Well said, sir. So,
but there are a lot of details we don't know. Like, do they have a baby like I do?
Yeah, there's a lot.
If so, guess what? The demands on you right now, they're temporary. They're going to be totally different in a year. They're going to be totally different in 5 years.
They'll be totally different when they're... Dude, trust me. I've got a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. My life with those three kids is so different than it was back when they were, 3, 6, and 9. And... or whatever range you want. They're all 3 years apart. It's a completely different world. But because I did the things then that needed to be done, they're awesome now. And they're also really independent. So one of them's in there doing her homework, one of them's upstairs doing her homework, and the other one's watching SpongeBob reruns on Netflix, and I'm recording a show, and my wife's hanging out with one of her friends in the kitchen. Everybody wins.
Yep.
Woo!
Yep. And, maybe the solution to this whole thing is you find a way to get your wife interested in playing WoW. And maybe you say, I can't do that. Well, then that WoW may not be in the cards,
Maybe not.
and it may be that you've got to take it down, or you've got to say to yourself, WoW's going to be around next year, and I'm going to get away from it for a long time and work on establishing whatever it requires for me to go back to it later.
Yeah.
Maybe later you've got a better situation with your spouse. Maybe later you find you took some time off from WoW and you really don't care to go back to it.
Yeah, and that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. And keep listening to us, though. Don't leave us. I still say Kenny Loggins is part of the answer. But anyway, moving on.
Oh, that song. That song is actually an interesting lyric. He's talking about relationships, and then he says, "Meet me halfway across the sky."
Yeah.
What?
Weird, right?
It's just what?
Yeah, I think it was meant for. He meant it for what's the Top Gun, and it got used instead and over the top.
That's right.
Because
yeah.
across the sky would make sense, right? Goose and Maverick together forever.
I don't know, man.
Whatever. All right, well, there you go. Thank you for your emails, everybody. TheInstance@gmail.com.